Mariano Kemp, it's so great to see you, as always. You have such a fascinating story because of your mental resilience, which I don't think a lot of people would have had in your position. So just a quick background context. I met you in middle school, and you were a flat-out stud athlete. And you came from a family of stud athletes. Your uncle's coached in the NFL, and you have a brother who played at Michigan, and you were just a star athlete. And so kind of take me through what that looked like in high school for you as a high school running back.
Yeah, absolutely. Having the background within my family always pushed me to be the best, or to always go out of my way to make sure I'm doing everything that I can to possibly put myself in a way to succeed. And obviously that did come with some pressure too, but it was pressure that was for the better. It really helped me well-rounded in so many areas, from sports to academics to my personal life to everything around me. It got tough at times, but I think there were so many great things that came from it, and it just always pushed me to become the best version of myself.
It was so rare for me to meet a student athlete, and again, this is middle school, right? We'll get to the higher level stuff, but even in middle school, you came to my classroom an hour before school and got help, and you didn't need to do that. Like, this wasn't like a thing you had to do. You were just, that was instilled in you somehow. You're like, I need all my time for training after school. Like, I need to get everything done before school. Where did that come from?
Mostly just my family, truthfully. I would see my brother and how hard he worked. And just knowing that there's always someone out there who's always competing, always doing more than what you think you're putting in, regardless of wherever you're at in life. Like I said, if it's school, if it's football, if it's personal life, and just having such a well-rounded individual like my brother lead the path for me, and then also having two great parents who really showed discipline in so many areas for me.
So that was instilled in you. Were there any other things you would do coming up to get ahead as a student athlete?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just always staying consistent. You know, I think that is something that you hear way more often these days from so many greats. One of the biggest things they always say is just consistency. And that's just the truth. You can always be the best version of yourself on Monday, but can you do it again on Tuesday? Can you do it again throughout the whole week? And I think that's something that gets so overlooked, that 4 days a week I'm grinding and doing everything that I can. But there's people out there who are doing 7 days. And they're even somehow finding an extra hour in those days. I think that was the biggest thing for me, was just always staying consistent and always showing yourself room for gratitude, to show like, man, I did kill it, but where could I have done better? To always stay consistent, but always find that leniency of like, okay, I did good here, but what else could I improve on?
That was my exact observation of you. It was like, it'd be Friday morning. He's here again, ready to go. And then you'd have the same thing for stretching. You'd have the same thing for speed training. Like, you were just so consistent, and that really served you well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you went to high school and you were a star running back in high school. All state?
Yes.
All state running back. Yeah. All over the place. I remember, like, I saw a few games, but just remember seeing you in the paper all the time. And it really paid off for you, this consistency. I bet it was harder than it looked from the outside.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I think there's so many days that you just want to stay in bed or think that you did enough. That's just like the always kind of thought in the back of your mind pushing you to be like, nope, don't do it.
Take me through your routine in high school, because you were a very good student as well. So take me through, like, what did that look like for you to be at that level, to be a top running back in the state?
So the biggest thing for me was to find a consistent schedule. It gets really tough because there's so many new things when you get introduced with high school. You probably see in a different friend group. You're in periods where you can have off periods. You can go off on campus to get some lunch. It was the first time that you kind of get some freedom within your life. And it's just to find a path that works best for you. And I quickly learned that when you look at your friend group, or when you look at other people, even within your sports, it works for them, but it might not work for you. So I think the biggest thing for me was I had to find stuff that worked for me. When I'd get home from practice, what does the rest of my week look like? Is there anything that's due? Because if there's something due and I got to go to a game on the weekend, I can't be having assignments on my mind when I'm at the game.
Thank you for
or
saying
stuff
that. Yes.
like that. Little things like that. It was just always to find a schedule that works best for me. And whether that's my sleep, whether that's when to turn off the game so I'm not drowsy the next morning. It's little things like that that you don't think that it will add up, but it does over time.
A lot of people think they can, like, compartmentalize. Like, I have a big assignment, but I'll take care of that later. It's sitting there in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
So, like, what was the exact routine for you? Like, I know you got up early and went to office hours as much as possible. What were the other pockets of routines that you did?
Depending on the day, depending on the week, I'd always find an hour just for myself to really decompress and think about what's ahead of me. Because a lot of the time you get so built up and you don't know why. You don't know why. You just went throughout your school day, you just went out throughout practice, and you just have a bundle of feelings, and you don't know why. Because it's just like, oh, I heard the teacher say this. Oh, I heard my coach say this. Or there's so many things that you don't think you hold on to, but you do. And it's just because that's how we are as humans. You just hear things, it sticks with you, and you kind of move on. So for me, whenever I really felt that anxiousness, I would take a step back to really think about, okay, why do I feel this way? And I would always go to the root of the problem or what I was feeling at that time to really cool my nerves.
That is so wise. I was not expecting that. That is so wise because with high-level athletes, there's a mental health crisis right
yes,
now. It is
absolutely.
what it is. And I'm guilty of this too, where I'm like pushing people, like, do the next things, office hours. Okay, now you got a foam roll. Now you got to stretch. Now you just taking that time for, it's essentially just self-care, just sitting with it and not scrolling or doing whatever. It's so important. And you brought it up right away.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that from? Was that just something intuitive?
I had a teacher in high school actually kind of show me it. And it wasn't necessarily what she was saying during that time, but she was a chemistry teacher. What she would do at the beginning of class was she would take time to just do these breathing exercises. And throughout it, I really got invested because I loved the way I felt from that minute within class to really the next hour ahead of me. It really set the pace. I was like, okay, well, if I do that for 1 minute and it makes me feel great, why wouldn't I want to do that throughout the whole day? So she sparked it. And then I would go online, research practices, and just adapted a system that really worked well for me.
That's funny. That's in sports psychology, the peak performance. It's like that's what everybody's into is the breathing and the calming of the nervous system.
Yes.
Getting to that peak performance. So chemistry teacher.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Okay, so you're all-state running back, and you kind of hit your first bump in the road when you had some big schools calling, and for just whatever reason, like it happens to so many of us, like it didn't go that path.
Absolutely.
And that's okay. So you decided to go to a Division II college. What was that transition like?
It was, as many athletes would probably say, it's a very humbling experience, and there's a lot of things that you just can't prepare for. Once you're there, you just got to pay your dues, and those dues look different for everybody, but everyone has to go through a very similar path. So for me, getting there, I was just very excited, being a part of such a winning culture, such a great program. I was like, okay, I'm meant to be here. But there's a lot of challenges that came with it. Yeah. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, and it's just how fast can you adapt to that system.
You were on a very good team, and you saw the field as a freshman.
Yes.
And then you get hit with adversity. What did that adversity look like to you?
The adversity for me was you get there to play your position, but ultimately you're not going to see the field at your position. You got to find another way. And for most athletes, for football, it's special teams. So high school, special teams was something I didn't really take that serious because I was never on it.
Yeah.
But for me, that was my first entryway on the field. So it was by any means necessary. I'll try to find a way on punt, kickoff, whatever it is. For me, that's what it was, to really find a different path to my main goal. And it's by any means necessary to get there. So.
Yeah. And then the transfer portal and COVID and all this stuff started happening.
Yes.
When you were a sophomore?
Yes, towards the end.
Sophomore. Yes. So season got shut down, like the world got shut down. And then the transfer portal became a thing. And then all these people were transferring in and out, and there was just chaos that ensued. How did you keep your head through all of this? Because if 50-ish come in and only a few last, and you're one of them, how'd you do that?
What was really hard for athletes during that time is they got a taste of freedom. For so long, it's you go from camp to season, then you go to spring ball, then you get a little time off, then you're back at camp. There's not much time that you truly have off within football. And what's funny is you train all year for, if you're lucky, maybe 11 games. It's a year-round thing, and you only actually play 11 times. And during COVID, I would love to see the numbers because within my team, a lot of kids quit. And mostly it was just because you had all this time off, everything was shut down, so you just became lazy, enjoying the time, eating whatever. And then once they're like, okay, we're back, to now bring back everybody, I think it really started to weave people out. But what kept me so true to what I was doing was I never broke my schedule. I would always wake up in the morning early to get my stretching in. I'd go to the gym, work out, and then after workout, I'd go to the field and practice what I've always been doing, from routes to cones to whatever it is. If it's me and my brother just doing like one-on-one, stuff like that. And I think that was the biggest thing that kept me so involved within it, was I just never broke what I was doing and stayed true when a lot of others didn't.
How you stayed disciplined in COVID was pretty remarkable. I think that there's not many people that can do that, but you did. And so football started back up again. And again, you worked your way up. And there was a transfer that came in, which is so common in college sports, where there's a transfer that comes in and the coaches go crazy, right? And you kind of had to take a back seat again. 99.9% of people quit in that situation. You've always been a stud athlete, and now you've worked yourself up. You've done everything right. And for some reason, you're still second string. Why did you not quit?
Yeah, so the biggest reason on that mindset is it's so easy to quit. It is so easy, and you just think about everything that you could be doing if you walked away. And for me, it was to prove it to myself. There are so many moments where I could have walked away, I could have turned my back, but at the end of the day, I always ask myself, why am I here and what do I want to prove to myself? Because there's so many battles that athletes have to go through that are more just individual based. It's never about like the situation around you or anything about another teammate. It's just all within yourself. And I think that's a true test of someone's character, is if they're able to overcome that. And for me, it was always, I was so afraid of what would come if I did. So I always pushed myself to make sure that I never was in a position that I ultimately did walk away. And I think that the fear of that always kept me going and to pursue something better within the position that I was in. And I say fear, it was like a good fear. It was like a healthy fear to really like, nope, that's not you. Let's find out who you really are and let's show it to myself and the world.
So I didn't really see the field in college. You were a much better athlete than me. I was just happy to be there. But I imagine that was hard. And I actually know a lot of student athletes that have quit. If it's not the right thing to do, because sometimes it is the right thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
like you have other opportunities or things like that.
Yes.
But if it's not the right thing to do, there is a lot of regret there, and you don't have to live with that.
Absolutely, because it's going to get tough. I don't know anyone who's just had a smooth like butter life. There's so many areas that those moments that I went through have benefited me today. Whatever it is, if it's a rough patch or something really hard that I'm going through, it shows who you can be and what you want to be when you don't turn your back on something.
Yeah, and you're talking like you're 40 years old. Like you're what, 23?
Yes, 24.
24, sorry to devalue that. I mean, if you're already seeing dividends from sticking through it now, I know it's going to pay dividends.
No, absolutely.
Very long term, because quitting does get in your bones. Mm-hmm. And I'm really, really happy that you had the resilience to stick through that. And it's not fun.
Yeah, definitely.
But you did it. Do you have any like insights on self-talk? Because it's easy for us to sit in this room and tell people not to quit, right?
Yeah.
It's different when you're getting beat up every day and you're not seeing the field for certain periods.
There's so many times that you have to remind yourself of who you are. It can be so easy to get washed up into what somebody else think, what your coach is saying, maybe what your teammates are saying. But at the end of the day, what you believe, that's the bar. That's the standard. No matter what anybody else says, whatever you tell yourself, that's how you feel. There's so many times where you're like, gosh, I'm not doing good. Or you drop a ball, then you're worried about dropping the next pass. They haven't even thrown you the ball yet, but you're worried about catching the next one.
Yeah.
And it's just, you have to remind yourself like, yep, that's not me. That's not me. I know who I am. I know what I can do. And those core values will just elevate so many other areas to put like kind of building bricks for you to not be taken down so easily. What happens in high school is kind of like a minor version of what maybe like the minor leagues of what happens in college. I think college really amplifies everything. The discipline and grind of sports, whatever you're doing in high school times it by 100, everything gets multiplied. Whatever you're doing before, got to make it better and bigger now.
We tell everyone, like, this is going to be way harder at the next level. You can't prepare for it except for to live it.
Yes.
But you can do things beforehand. Like have a routine where you're just being with yourself for a second. Learn how to structure your academic routine. Learn how to do other things. But you just got to experience it. And what a gift on the back end.
Yeah.
This is a hard question. But someone's getting ready to leave for college right now. For college football. We're actually like 2 weeks away from camp.
Yeah.
I still wake up with nightmares. We're about 2 weeks away from camp. What would you tell that incoming college freshman who's going to step foot in a more challenging environment?
Absolutely. I think I've harped on it throughout this time, but the biggest thing is you just have to find a way. And your path might look different from somebody else's. Everyone is going through their own battles, and it's something that you're not encountering alone. It's something that you're encountering with a whole class, and for people who have been there for 2, 3 to even 5 years now, they've experienced it. And it's just they're more seasoned, but everyone goes through it. Like you said, there's nothing that we can say or do to prepare an individual for that. But the biggest thing that I would tell them is it's more of a mental battle than anything. You wake up early, you get back late, and it's the same schedule for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. Nothing's changing.
And you don't feel like you're making progress.
Yes.
I think that's where I got so stuck is like, you're right, it's the exact same schedule. You're getting beat up, you're working your tail off in the weight room and filming. It feels like you're just like not getting anywhere.
And it's stuck. And I think it's really doing your due diligence to make sure that when you show up on that front doorstep that you have everything that you need and to put yourself in a position to succeed. And whatever you think you're doing, don't get comfortable because it is a whole new level that you're about to encounter. For such a long time, you're at a position where you were the best. And a lot of high school athletes that move on to the next level, they all know it. They were the best on their team, maybe the best in the state. But now you're on a team that they all have the exact same story. And they all have been doing the exact same thing. So what are you going to do to put yourself in a position to find your path to success? It is very tough, but camp will set you straight.
Are you happy you stuck it out? Because you had a lot of options. Like you could have gone to really cool places. You had great grades. You worked your tail off in the classroom. You were a great athlete. Like, are you happy that you didn't quit?
There's like two things that I would say to that. Was I happy that I didn't quit? 100%. And the reason why was because there's so many areas in my life currently that if I quit during that time, I know the situations that I've encountered here recently within the last 2 years, I would have done the same thing. But going through such a tough experience like that, honestly, these were not foreign to me and I knew exactly how to handle them and they were very easy to deal with. However, there's always that path that it's like, dang, what if I did go somewhere else? Or what if I just walked away and made it easier for myself? There's always that thought because you don't know what it could have led to. Yeah. You would just always imagine the great things that would come from it. But truthfully, those great things won't come. The beauty of it is the hard work that you put in to build a better path in the end.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And what I've noticed about you is you've gotten much more wise. And the hardest conversation I get from a lot of parents is, how do I make my kid more confident? There's only one way to get more confidence. Yeah. Do hard things and stick through them on repeat.
Yes.
And I've just seen that with you where you've just gotten so much more wise and emotionally intelligent and you just are very present now, which I don't know if you would have been that way in high school or if you would have quit. So, of course, I can't tell you how it's going to play out, but I've noticed a big difference in you in that sense.
Yeah, and the one thing I'd like to add is college will really push you out of your comfort zone. And I think that's an aspect that a lot of don't know how to handle. And it could be for the better, it could be for the worse, depending on the individual. And for me, it was to really step outside my comfort zone within my coaches and my teammates to really make sure that what I was saying or what I was doing is to be heard. A lot of people can kind of crumble under that, but I think that goes into not quitting. Like there was always that good fear in me of like, dude, you got to do this, so let's do it. But it always pushed me to be kind of who I am today. And it's tough, and there's times where you'll be like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But it ultimately pushes you in the better path.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. So great to have us.
Absolutely. Pleasure being here.
If you found this interview helpful, please subscribe to our channel. We're trying to give as much actionable, helpful advice as possible.